is Nefarious, and I am here for a league report video. And my special guest today is no one. Riding solo dolo today. Couldn't get anybody to fill in. Somebody lined up for Friday night, but apparently he's a little tied up. Most people probably have a better chance of doing it on the weekdays instead of the weekend. So solo dolo tonight. We're gonna go through. We'll discuss my power rankings and this one. Maybe do a team breakdown as usual. But first, let's go through. Let's go through the stats real quick. Let's take a look at our top five since we haven't in a while. Alright, top five. We got Deshaun Watson at number one. Houston Texans user just came back, so maybe he's making noise already. I gotta go. We'll go check on that Texans and Seahawks game, see who won that one, because that was definitely a good one. I could already tell, unless Texans is really rusty. But then you got Josh Rosen number two, Josh Allen number three, Matthew Stafford, and then rounded off with Jameis Winston. This seems like what it's going to look like at the end of the year. Maybe Deshaun Watson Deshaun Watson with the user back might stay up there. Matt Stafford, I don't see staying up there. Jameis Winston possibly, and Josh Allen, Josh Rosen are most likely going to stay up there. Let's take a look at the touchdowns. Alright, we got Baker Mayfield, who's leading the league in touchdowns. That's no surprise. Great touchdown to interception ratio as usual. Even though he's sat him out for so long, I believe he might have sat him out for a few games. He's still up there in pretty much everything. Interceptions, let's take a look. Drew Lock, the Steelers user. The second Steelers user we had this season. Drew Lock's got 25. Excuse me. Drew Lock's got 25. Then we got Wimbush, the Bears user, who's got 23. Matt Ryan, 22 after a good start to the season against me. But I can't intercept anybody for some reason. One other thing I want to take a look at is the rating. So I'm only going to count guys that qualify in my eyes. Over 1,000 yards probably would qualify. Over 100 pass attempts, maybe. Yeah, we're going to do over 100 pass attempts. So, number one, we got Jameis Winston. Then, number two, we got Lamar Jackson. Number three, we got Baker. And then four, Andrew Luck. And then five, we got Josh Allen. I want to take a look where Kyle Schumer is a little down the list, but he's up there a little bit. Alright, let's take a look at the rushing. TBJ is going off once again. 1,200 yards through 140 carries for 8.6 yards per carry. We got Salvin Ahmed, who's up there, and then Joe Mixon, who's got more attempts than Tony Brooks-James, but has got about 400 yards less in yardage. So that's insane. Then we got Josh Jacobs, who's making his name in Minnesota. The users using him well. And then we got Justice Hill. Justice Hill's making a list too. Wow. Justice Hill and the New York Jets finally finding the run game, as well as the Minnesota Vikings with Josh Jacobs. But the top three are usually the same. We'll see if these two can hold on to the fourth and fifth slot as the season goes on. Let's take a look at the touchdowns. Tony Brooks-James, number one. Benny Snell is up there. Not having the best of years. Not having as good a year as he did last year, but he's coming on as of late. One big game against me, and he's possibly gaining momentum from that. Melvin Gordon's up there in touchdowns as well as Salvin Ahmed and Derrick Henry. Let's see who's lost the ball the most. Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be all quarterbacks, yeah. It's going to be all quarterbacks. Alright, let's take a look at the receiving. David Sills is still up there. With 45 receptions, 830 yards. We'll see if he leads the league in yardage as well. Receptions don't really matter anyway. David Sills, number one, and then we got Terrell Shavers, who's up there. Shavers is gonna have to watch out for that average, but he is a beast so far. The 6'6" freak out of Alabama is getting it done. Like I said, watch out for the average, and he'll be all set. Van Jefferson, 760 yards, 22 yards per catch, so he'll need to lower that just a little bit. Anthony Johnson, who's underrated, nobody really pays attention to, but he's a beast with 96 speed, I believe. Yeah, 80 overall, 96 speed. He's a beast. I don't know why, I'm sorry. We got Anthony Johnson, and then we got Chico McCladder, who I was introduced to when I played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just silently gets his yardage. It's crazy. Let's take a look at the touchdowns. Touchdowns: David Sills, Robbie Anderson, John Ross, Terrell Shavers, and then Thaddeus Moss. Alright. Blocking doesn't really matter. Tackles, I don't care. Let's take a look at the sacks. Yannick Njoku, number one, 20 sacks. Myles Garrett's right behind him. Two Browns players are getting to the quarterback with regularity. Both have 15 plus sacks. Then Tim Williams and Kimoku Ture, who's a surprise name on there, with 13 sacks. Let's take a look at Vic Beasley. He was able to get another sack and a half in the last game, so he's staying up there with sacks. Let's take a look at interceptions. We got Dorian Etheridge, who's making a name for himself. That Minnesota team is playing a lot better than usual. 12 interceptions. CJ Mosley got 11, so CJ's having a career year when it comes to interceptions. Miles Jack is up there, and also Jaquez Tark. Let's take a look at see who's got touchdowns on the season. Jalen Ramsey's got a couple already. And then you got Jacoby Stevens, Anthony Linton, Miles Jack, Dorian Etheridge, Taquan. You got a bunch of guys with one in here. Harrison Smith is one of them, but that wasn't with me. Look at Dexter Lawrence with an interception for a touchdown, and KJ Henry. Got a couple offensive linemen there with interceptions for touchdowns there. See how many. Yeah, you just got the two. So a couple defensive linemen getting in the mix when it comes to touchdowns and interceptions. Let's take a look at touchdowns for kick returns. We got Tyree Cleveland and then Cordero Patterson, who used to be with New England. Dante Pettis, so that guy, that's the San Francisco user, is able to get into the end zone. Then we got Isaac Taylor Stewart, who's got one himself, and that's about it. Let's take a look at punt returns. I don't think there's any touchdowns in punt returns. So, Dylan Stoner. Who knows if that was actually in a user played game, but Dylan Stoner with the one touchdown on the season. What I actually want to do, I was thinking about, so I kind of wish I had a guest for this to really discuss this. So maybe I'll save it for another time, and I'll just discuss my power rankings. But I just came up with an idea for a little bit of content, well, for a league report content type thing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna look at my my power rankings. Well, you can't see it on screen, but I'll take a look. So this is power rankings before the recent games. We had the Baltimore Ravens at number one. They're 8-0. They're gonna stay there. There's not much you could say about the Ravens. He controls the game. He's almost impossible to beat unless he goes undefeated and makes it to the Super Bowl. Then he'll lose there. That's pretty much a guarantee. Kansas City Chiefs, it was my number 2, and he actually is coming off a loss. To who exactly? Let's take a look. We'll actually we'll go through his schedule once I've done the standings. We want week 9. So the Kansas City Chiefs are coming off a loss to the Chargers, and it wasn't played, so it was a sim loss. All right, so a sim loss for the Kansas City Chiefs. Um, we got the San Francisco 49ers, who is in 3. If the scoreboard keeps popping up while I'm trying to do this, I'm gonna fucking lose my shit. So we got the San Francisco 49ers, who come in at number 3. And let's see if they won. They took care of Arizona, so I don't see that changing. Tampa Bay Buccaneers come in at 4. Buccaneers even play this week. Excuse me. Buccaneers even play this week. I don't see them unless I'm blind. Looks like the Buccaneers had a bye. So, I don't see their position changing with their 6-1 record. I don't see the Chiefs really changing, but even though it's a sim loss, I kind of gotta count it as a loss to a Chargers team. Maybe I won't count it. Dallas Cowboys is coming in at 5. Dallas, actually, I already did the I was doing the power rankings a little bit, but the new one's going to be out later tonight, probably. But the Cowboys actually took a loss to the Washington Redskins, and they actually played that game, so that's a big win for the Redskins, big loss for the Dallas Cowboys. It could lead into him dropping in the power rankings, and also a big jump for the Washington Redskins possibly. We'll take a look at that. Seattle Seahawks comes in at 6. Seattle is took care of Houston, so that was a good game, 23-16. Houston after a long hiatus of not playing, so we'll see. We'll see how he bounces back from that. I'm surprised the score was that close. It's pretty much his preseason in week 9. So let's take a look at Indianapolis, the Colts. The Colts did not play this week, so the Colts had a bye. So I don't see their position changing. They jumped up recently due to a couple strong wins. It seems like he found his game. Last week he beat the Bills. I want to actually take a look at that. Make sure it was a played game instead of... Yeah, they played that game and he beat the Bills. So good for him. I couldn't beat the Bills, but the Bills owned me. So yeah. Philadelphia Eagles come in at 9. Did the Eagles play this week? I mean, they should have. Yeah, right here. So the Eagles beat the Broncos. I don't see the Broncos changing. If anything, they'll drop. Let me take a look. So Broncos are 27th. And they dropped to 3-4 now. They'll probably end up in the same slot. Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't see hopping above them. Saints, Texans might hop above them, but I can't really vouch for a 1-6 record and put it above a 3-4 record, even though it's not totally the user's fault. Then you got the Saints. Yeah, nobody's gonna hop. He's like he's ranked as a worst 3-win team, so he's probably gonna stay there. Another tough loss against the Eagles. As far as the Texans, like I said, they're dropping a 1-7 or 1-6, and they're ranked 30th. Maybe they hop above the Saints. Let me take a look at the Saints. If they played this week, yeah, they played and they beat the Falcons. So the Saints might actually get a little bump up. We might even jump ahead of the Broncos with a good win against a good team. All right, let's take a look at the next team on the list. I'm kind of all over. That was towards the bottom of the list, but I'm gonna go. When I do one game, I'll do each of the players. So we'll start with game 1. Baltimore Ravens, I already discussed. Cincinnati Bengals is ranked 12th at this moment. Their highest ranked was 11th, and they dropped 1, and they're kind of sitting stagnant in number 12 so far. They beat the Oakland Raiders. Can't really count that as much. No offense to the Oakland user, just can't count that as much. And then they got handled by the Ravens, so I can't really count that against them. We'll see how the rest of the league pans out. Cleveland manhandled the Steelers, so the Cleveland Browns are actually 10th in the league right now. They jump up to 5-4 after that win, so we could see them hop up. Just based on it seems like he's back to his old self. Maybe hop up a slot or two. Minnesota Vikings, who keeps on winning. He jumps up to 5-2. He'll probably hop ahead of the Bengals. Unfortunately, for the Bengals, and probably hop ahead of the Falcons, who we already beat this year. So you could see the Minnesota borderline top 10. Even though the Rams, we'll take a look at the Rams. And we got to take a look at Pitt. Pitt, I already discussed. He's 28th at 2-5, 2-6. He's probably gonna go nowhere but south, based on recent performance. And let's take a look at the Rams. The Rams has dropped a little bit from his hiatus. Oh, no, he didn't really drop. He was actually right beneath the Minnesota Vikings, but with a loss like that, he kind of got manhandled. You could see him drop a slot or two. Carolina and Chicago. Chicago's going to stay in 32. He hasn't, he's come close the past couple of weeks, but then he was pretty much owned by Carolina, so we'll see if that 31-32, if they ever change. I probably won't until they go head to head. Carolina Panthers is ranked in the low 20s, I believe. Actually, the high 20s with a 2-5 record. Now it's going to be 3-5. Yeah, JT's all over the place sometimes, but maybe we see him bumped up a slot or two from that one. Who knows? Let's take a look at the Saints and Falcons. The Falcons are going to take a big hit from this. Losing to the Saints, you could see them drop into the mid-teens, yeah, possibly the late teens, we'll see. And the Saints, like I said, are going to get a little bit of a jump from that one. Being a good team, they could jump up ahead of the Panthers and even and jump up ahead of the Giants. And maybe even the Cardinals. We'll look at that. Washington, we already discussed. It's going to get a big jump from being the Cowboys. The Cowboys are going to fall a few slots. Tennessee Titans only lost by 1 to the New York Jets. The Jets, let's take a look at the Jets first. The Jets, I believe, are... No, they're not. They're actually 17th, so they did drop a little bit from earlier. Their highest ranking was 9, so it's a pretty good drop. Now they're 17th. Oh, and before I continue, Vikings will probably kill me if I don't discuss this. Vikings was 26th in the power ranking at one point, and now he's pushing top 10. So it's been a big jump for him. New York Jets were high at number 9, dropped down to number 17. With this win, I don't see much changing. I manhandled the Titans. So there's a lot of teams up here that beat the Titans. So I don't know how much it changes. He only won by 1 point. I mean, if he demolished him, then maybe it's something different. As far as Tennessee is Tennessee is 21. He's gonna drop from this. He might even drop below the Saints at this point, and the Redskins, who got a good win. You might drop it behind both the Saints and the Redskins, who both got good wins. Jacksonville, who beat Miami. It's a good win for Jacksonville after losing to me. He lost to me, he beat the Bills, and he lost to the Jets. So the Jags split the AFC East with 2-2 record. 2 wins, 2 losses. Jags will trying to find him on the power rankings. Sorry, where are the Jags? Alright, Jags are 20th in my power rankings, usually in the low teens to mid-teens. I suspect that's where he'll finish if he continues to play. Uh, a big win against the Jets last week. So he's actually, who did he lose to? I want to take a look at that after, but I thought he lost to a couple AFC East teams. Maybe he played the Dolphins twice. I'm kind of confused by that. Uh, Nonetheless, Jags with a good win against Miami. Miami was ranked one slot ahead of him, so I see him bunny hopping Miami. Um, that's about it. I don't see him changing much after that. Eagles, we already discussed. She's at 9. Being Denver's not a big accomplishment. Denver's probably going to stay in the slot, and so is the Eagles. Maybe even drop one from somebody else getting a huge win on the week. 49ers going to stay in the same spot. Arizona's might drop or stay in the same spot. Buffalo and New England, I want to actually take a look at the stats. We tried to play this game. It got disconnected at the end. I want to take a look at the stats. Boston Scott, Najee Harris, Marlon Mack. Just like the user, can't really run the ball. And when I speak about the user, I'm speaking about myself. Can't really run the ball. Jarvis Landry had 3 touchdowns. He went absolutely off, and then A.J. Brown had a touchdown for me. Yeah, so, I mean, I didn't expect nothing less. Well, I expected to lose, but I expect nothing less with that score, 31-7. But speaking on the actual game that happened, is kind of the same. I had 1 touchdown. He had about 36 points. So I see the Bills at number 8. I don't see them hopping over Indianapolis since they took a loss to them. Maybe Dallas finds its way below Buffalo, and maybe that's how it gets its bump up in power rankings, or Buffalo just stays still. I mean, beating me is not the biggest win, so I don't see a major change. As far as me, the New England Patriots at 16 would have lost to the Buffalo Bills like this. I mean, he's a top team, so it doesn't really hurt me as much. When I get through all the games and kind of put them together, that's when I make my decision. Maybe the Jets hop ahead of me with the win against the Titans, because he's got the better record, but that's about it. Maybe I fall 1 or 2 slots. As far as Seattle and Houston, Seattle's going to stay in this slot. I already talked about Houston. KC's going to be in this. KC might move, might not. I might not hold it against them since it was a sim loss. And the Chargers get a sim win. They're probably going to stay in the same slot. So pretty much everything's not much is going to change in a week. Only a few teams are affected by the games that were played. I don't expect your top 5 to change. The Kansas City Chiefs might actually fall to 3, and then the San Francisco 49ers bump up to 2. So your top 5 will definitely be something like Baltimore Ravens, San Francisco 49ers, Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then rounded up with probably the Seattle Seahawks. Power rankings are a curse and a blessing, I guess. It's a little fun to do, but it gets tedious at times. But that pretty much does it. A few surprise ones here, a few good wins, a couple good games, like the Seattle Seahawks and Houston Texans, and then you got the Dallas Cowboys, who were taken down in the upset. So you got a few good games here. But that's about it. I want to take a look at the Jags schedule, like I said, though. I thought he lost to 2 AFC teams. He beat the Titans, lost to the Patriots, lost to the Bills. All right. So he got taken out by the Bills and taken out by me. So that's pretty much it. And then he beat the Texans, lost to the Titans, which is a big loss for him. Lost to the 49ers, and had the bye week and has come out strong the next two games. So maybe he figured something out. He has a good matchup this week against the Colts. But that's gonna do it for the league report. Not as long as usual. Usually I'll have a guest. I got a new idea for a review with my next guest, if possible. I kind of got a surprise next guest, so we'll see what we want to talk about. And hopefully you guys tune in next week. This is Nefarious. This has been your league report, and PML is the shit. Later.